So we're chewing through this whole should I buy a house or should I just keep renting debate that seems to be a topic of discussion more and more in today's world. And certainly when you kind of look at the numbers, it's more than just a discussion. The number of first-time home buyers in 2024 fell to 1.1 million, which is about half the historical average and the lowest rate in 20 years. On the flip side, if you look at the amount of investment accounts that Gen Z is setting up, somewhere along the neighborhood of 37% that is setting that up. That is actually up from 6% in 2015. So within a decade, you have a six-fold increase in the number of people in their 20s that are opening up investment accounts and things like that. Meanwhile, on the flip side, you have a reduction by about half of the number that is actually going and purchasing a house. So definitely kind of an interesting trend out there. Obviously, that trend of reduction in home ownership probably largely attributable to the costs, and we don't just mean the mortgage rates, because on a historical basis mortgage rates aren't that far off of where they would normally be, but it's the insurance costs, it's the maintenance costs, it's the roofing costs, it's the electrical costs, it's all of those costs that are really kind of helping to really have more and more people question the notion of home ownership. And then, when you think about the financial markets, and certainly, if you're spend any time at all on social media, you're talking about a lot of sort of very positive perspective of buying stocks, right? Think about the meme stock craze that's been going on, the crypto boom, all these social media influencers that are out there, saying, oh, buy this, buy that in terms of investments. And then, of course, Robinhood and its app. And it almost, a couple of my kids have Robinhood apps. They would be exactly this demographic that we're talking about, kind of in their young to mid 20s. I guess they are getting close to mid 20s. The oldest one turns 25 in March, so I guess that makes it mid 20s. Not sure what that says about my age, but we'll save that discussion for another time. But when you look at the Robinhood app, I don't know if you've ever taken an opportunity to look at it. It really has almost sort of gamified investing, and that's where we have a little bit of a concern of kind of that impact that's having, along with kind of all this other background of meme stocks and social media influences and all of that. And the most important thing in terms of perspective is actually what we said at the very beginning of the program, which is that when we're talking about the markets, and 8 weeks to go still for the year 2025, but this would be the third year in a row where you have had double-digit plus sized returns for the overall markets. And if you really do look at the past decade, with a couple of exceptions, the 2020 kind of COVID shutdown decline, and then the 2022 kind of decline as a result of a massive shift in interest rates. When you look at that, but then you kind of look at the larger decade, there really has been this has been a period of time where the markets have actually done quite well, and any kind of decline in the markets was relatively short-lived. So our concern is that may be giving folks a little bit of a different impression on how this whole investing thing actually works, and the impact of things like making sure that you're properly diversified, making sure that you're not overly concentrated, some of the things that we've been talking a bit on the program. And because certainly when you look at historical returns right now over the past 3, 5, 10 years, that they are in fact well above historical norms. Meanwhile, the message online in the social media channels is, you know what? Don't stretch to buy a house. Okay, just rent and invest your cash, and everything will be okay. But I think that misses the conversation of what comes with home ownership and the difference, between sort of the all-in cost of owning versus renting. I mean, it certainly can be quite narrow in terms of that spread. I mean, you could certainly argue, hey, if I'm owning a home, I got all these other costs. If I'm renting, I don't have to worry about all these other costs. But let's not forget that, the reality is homeownership is not necessarily just about the numbers. That mortgage is a very valuable forced savings that you have through good and bad times, right? I mean, as you're making that mortgage payment, then ultimately a portion of that does go to pay down the principal that you owe on that loan. And that is, in fact, that's your money. And so when you get to retirement, the goal would be to not have a rent payment because you bought a house, and then because you bought a house and paid for it over an extended period of time, then you don't have a mortgage either. So a major expense goes away when you get to retirement if you lean more into the home ownership side of things. So while I think the argument today may be a little close. Oh, I'm not going to bother to buy a home. I'm just going to rent. I'm going to invest the money. The latter approach, I'm going to rent and I'm going to invest the money, assumes that you will continue to do that. And most importantly, that you will continue to do that when the market isn't behaving as well as it is now. On the flip side, when you own a home, mortgages due every month regardless of what's going on. And the reality is that paying down that mortgage gradually over time is going to set you up into a much better position in retirement, combined with sort of some of the non-financial stuff that comes with owning a home, right? I mean, it's predictability, it's the ability to customize your space, it's the security of having it all paid off by retirement, so you're not having to pay rent. And don't forget the tax advantage as well when it comes to owning a primary residence. It's a pretty powerful tax advantage. If you're a married couple and you own a primary residence and you sell it, you can in fact exclude up to $500,000 of capital gain on the sale of that property when you do sell it. That's a pretty good tax deal that you're not going to get on the investment side. So bottom line, clearly some pros and cons, especially today. I think kind of the numbers seem to be somewhat close in terms of this rent to buy sort of argument. But the reality is that, you're assuming that you're going to continue to stay on the investing side, do that through good and bad times. And you have to be careful with that, because one of the things that we do see, unfortunately, is that when things don't go right in the markets, people have a tendency to stop investing and stop putting money in. And then that could really unwind the analysis on this rent to buy, not forgetting that the goal when you get to retirement is to not have a mortgage, so you don't have that cost either way. And if you never buy a home and you keep renting, well, you're still going to have that rental cost. So definitely really something to kind of work through. Certainly the companion workbook that we recently published to our book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents, actually kind of has this exercise in chapter 14, kind of working through the numbers, if you will. And that's the kind of thing that our workbook is designed to do to help you kind of make these types of decisions. So as we've said earlier in the program, companion workbook, obviously free for the holiday season, sort of our gift to you. We thank you for your listenership and your loyalty to the program. I was doing the math the other day. I think I am 1,500 episodes in, if you can believe that. I mean, that seems kind of crazy. There was like 5 years where I was doing my own individual show as well beyond that, but I think I might be topping 1,500, if that might be. That just seems like a huge number. But the reality is that a lot of the financial fundamentals haven't changed out there, and sadly, we continue to see, unfortunately, a decline in financial education, which is why we wrote the book Next Gen Dollars and Cents a couple of years ago. That also is available for free during this holiday season as well. So find out how to get your copy. Go to our website at nelsonfinancialplanning.com, and there you can request your free copy of both of those publications. We're happy to share those with you this holiday season. And coming up, another busy week ahead for the markets as well. We'll have more on all of that. Now, next week's program here on Dollars and Cents with Joel Garris of Nelson Financial Planning. Thanks for listening to this week's episode.